2, 3, 4. It's waiting on YouTube. Okay, we're good. All right, so it's our first and looks like our only show today. It's our, what is it? I can't even remember anything anymore. Our third day back, I think. We did 2 shows yesterday, and we got Hillis Pugh with us, beloved brother. We're going to take a quick break and play the intro so we can allow people time to come in because there's just a few in here right now. And we'll be right back. How's it going, everybody? It's good to be back in the saddle. This is, I think, our third day in our new studio. You can see a little bit of it. We got beloved brother, beautiful beloved brother, Hillis Pugh's with us today. We actually ran into each other in New York City in 2017, back in I don't want to say the hard Scrabble days of soulogy. I mean, it's still a daily thing, but not like it was in New York, man. It was like, being in Grand Central Station with $2 and in the middle of winter with 2 feet of snow on the ground and rapping and dancing to try to get a little money just to get up the street, But it's good to have you on. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. Thank you for coming in, sharing space with us, and honoring us with your presence. It's good to have you on. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, definitely. We met pre-ascension days, so to speak.
Yeah.
Before all this energy started just coming in and and there we go.
Yeah, it was actually, we were doing shows. I was doing some shows in Houston in 2016. Then I went to New York and started collaborating with some other people for maybe a few weeks. And we were doing shows but we hadn't done any Soul Speaks 5Ds. That wouldn't come, I don't know, probably like a year after we met. And now we are 2,350 shows later. And yeah, Soulogy is a whole different kind of thing. But I do appreciate you. You're one of the many people who have been a consistent contributor to the Soulogy group. I was going through it last night and just looking at the consistency of the frequency, which is kind of weird because you would think with a Facebook group that doesn't have any rules, I was looking at the numbers last night. I want to say there was 10 posts submitted that we deleted and I want to say it was like, I don't even know. It was, I think, 7 days. So We've always had a kind of an open thing and trusted the energy, but people like you have kept it going and keep people coming back. So thank you for that.
You're most welcome. I mean, what you do is brilliant. I mean, I appreciate the energy that you put into everything that you do, because that's how we found each other, because, of our love for poetry, number one.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's how it all started. Just putting up poetry from a flip phone, living on the streets. That's how it all started, actually.
Exactly.
So now you're living in Florida now, but and you just talked about like a pre-ascension thing. I love the way you put that, because it's funny because I ask people on the show quite often. I'll say, when did you wake up? And twice people have responded with an answer of this morning, which is kind of a double entendre, but it's true, and so I can tell you've got a tremendous amount of humility. Not just, I guess I had a little bit of an edge because I know your energy, but yeah, with that, with that comment that you made. But I mean, how did you have like a reawakening, or has it been a gradual thing, or how did it go for you?
Well, for me, it's not more so of an awakening, as I talk about it most of the time. I talk about it in terms of remembering.
Yeah.
And it has definitely been a gradual process for me to remember, my soul and my purpose and what I'm connected to and what am I doing here, and how am I to reach all these people, and how am I going to be this leader, and how I'm going to do all these things. So it's been like a gradual process. Started back about 12 or so years ago. Yeah, actually, it really started back in 2008. So yeah, well over, about 12 years now.
Yeah. So, did you have anything? I mean, a lot of people that come on the show, it's like, oh my God, I had all these traumas hit, or I came out of this relationship, or I got fired, or I had an accident. Like seems to be a catalyst that, like kind of opens our eyes, and then we get to another point, I think, where we go, okay, I'm going this direction, and I'm not looking back. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think with anything that is a catalyst for what we do, we all have that rock bottom point, that rock bottom moment in our lives. And it is that space that allows us to analyze. And one of the people who actually was part of my catalyst, part of the reason why I do what I do now, is Neil Donald Walsh, and how he was living on the streets. Not saying that anyone has to live on the streets, but in that time of emptiness, or what we think is emptiness, we have that space and the ability to reflect upon what am I doing and where's the clarity in this. And so we, in our day to day, get so bogged down and so foggy in our mind that we have to have these moments of, rock bottom, or having these catalyst moments and having these times to reflect. Because if we don't, we get lost in the minutia, we get lost in ourselves, we get lost in everything else, and lose sight of us, and as our focus is outward on everything else.
Yeah. Distractions, right?
Definitely.
Distortions and distractions. So you mentioned part of your remembering is to be a leader, and I know you do speak and teach. I'm not too familiar with everything you do. I think you were working on a book at one time. I remember when we first talked. So where does that come into play? Where are you at with that? What's that been like?
Well, my book, Awaken with Gratitude, is available on Amazon now. However, it is one of 4, so the other 3 have yet to be released yet. But what that is for me, that was in a journey of itself, and allowed me to reflect on the energy of gratitude, and how gratitude is the foundation for everything that I do now. Everything from just saying simple things, and just having appreciation in how life has evolved and how life has grown. And then from the book, and that typically wrote itself, because it started out as emails that I sent to friends and family, then it evolved into a blog, then evolved into a book, and now it's evolved to me teaching about gratitude and the law of vibration, which the law of attraction comes from. Not a lot of people are aware that that is the root, the foundation in which the law of attraction, and how we attract things, and how we vibrate, and how we connect to all that we are is from that space. And so it just allows me to teach from experience, and to help others find that space within themselves.
Right on. So you're saying that the root of the law of attraction is vibration. Yeah.
Oh yeah, everything in this universe is based in vibration and in frequency, because it serves in a way to how we connect with spirit, and how we connect with our soul, and how we connect with our loved ones, and how we, in our physical embodiment, attract the people who we want. Like for you and I, for example, we're on the same frequency, we're on the same vibration. And when you have two energies or multiple energies that are in saying on the same frequency, just like a radio station,
Yeah.
get to understand how the frequency and how the vibration works. And so it's just that simple. I mean, everything and actually, from the law of vibration, the third spiritual law of vibration, it says everything is but a vibration.
Yeah. Energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is interesting too. And again, I'll go back to that comment you made about pre-ascension, knowing each other pre-ascension. And that's like, I guess because I've been saying this for a while, not because it's smart or anything, but just for where I'm at, which is you get to this point where you remember and you start to understand, wait a minute, I'm creating everything. So then you have, you start to go into what people call shadow work, inner work, zero pointing. There's a lot of different, pathways, as my wife says, up the mountain. But ultimately, this is what's happening. We're removing these layers. And so now, when people use the term conscious creators, that has a lot of meaning because
Yeah.
To be a conscious creator, I think first and foremost, you have to be aware and in control and command of your energy, of your vibration. And really that kind of, to me, I'd like to get your perspective, but to me, it makes it a lot simpler because you don't have to focus on what does he think and what does she think and what do they think and all that other stuff. You just focus on your vibration and then you're going to attract, like begets like, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because when we think of ourselves as conscious creators or deliberate creators, creating on purpose,
Yeah.
creating with intent, then we can take out the middleman. Because sometimes when we, think of God or any other higher beings other than ourselves, not to discount anyone's beliefs. However, when you are stepping into your power, when you are claiming your power of this alignment, of this vibration to attract what it is that you want, you kind of end up in a magical space where you become ultimately surprised at what you are capable to manifest, what you're capable to bring into yourself. For example, with me per se, when I was in the infancy of understanding my abilities and understanding my psychic mediumship and my Reiki and understanding the depth of which I could explore, when I, just for fun, sometimes in the infancy, I was like, I wish I could find $5 today, or I wish I could find $1. So, being in pure heart of that intention is when the universe decided, okay, well, this is what he asked for, let's deliver it.
Yeah.
And so when it came to me, it's like, oh, wow, this is meant for me. But one of my proudest moments of manifesting by coming into alignment with what I want was that being one person who is of energy practitioner. You have, most energy practitioners carry around the shamanic tools, crystals, whatever it be. And so I was growing my practice, and so was my tools. So I was like, I need a new medicine bag for my tools. I need something to put them in. And so lo and behold, maybe about a week later, I'm walking to work in Brooklyn, my usual way that I walk. And if you're anything about New York, there's always stoop sales over the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so on a Monday, this happened to be on, I was walking, and here it is, this medium-sized, beautiful medicine bag, brand new from Ecuador. And I'm like, and then it had a big sign on it that says free. And I'm like,
Can't make this shift up.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. And usually the universe knows I am one, if it's used or anything, I don't touch. If it was brand new, hasn't been used, I'm like, yes.
Wow. Yeah, and then you bring up the streets of New York too, which I did. I was there 4 months, and I did a lot of, I guess, zero pointing and integrating. Everything from, I had a friend who and I won't mention names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but we would jump on the subway, and he would always have that, that waterless soap that everybody's using now because of the quarantine.
Yeah.
So he'd always have one in his pocket, and I would, I'd get on and he was a pretty sharp guy, vibrationally speaking. And I thought, well, what's that? I'm observing this. I'm thinking, what's that? Do I need to do that? Are there germs here? And then I started like integrating with all the germs and all the energy on the subway. And it was really a great level of lessons. But what I was going to get to was back to what you're talking about with vibration and with what you attract and how you do that. And I'm a big believer that we have to engage this energy, but I'm also understanding we're coming out of a codependent relation paradigm, and that we're transitioning and kind of figuring out how to do this. And one of the things that I was challenged with, I'd like to hear your comments on this, was giving. So I remember walking on the streets of New York, and I had no money. I mean, I might have $10 on a given day. And I remember I'd go down to the Dunkin' Donuts in the North Bronx, and I was coming out, and there was a guy there that was homeless. And I remember walking out the door, and I heard, "Go back inside." And I went back inside, and then I was like, "Okay, what?" And then I give him $4. I think I might have had $5, or maybe that's all I had. And I gave it to him, and his name was Matthew, and I would see him over the next, say the next month I was there off and on, and I would always give him money. And I didn't understand why I was being guided to do this, but then I started to be shown reciprocation. But it wasn't like it was some kind of message like you can't give with the expectation you're going to get something. It's part of the energy that you're becoming, that you're vibrationally becoming. And I think it's a little bit tricky how we do that. I think maybe we're still figuring that out. What are your thoughts on giving freely and what effects it might have on our vibration and our ability to attract what we want?
That's really good. I love that. And well, this is more like twofold. And I'm just going to cite a couple examples from my personal history. And that there was a time, living in Chicago, and actually there was two stories I wanted to share. One being, I was on my way to work, and I see this woman who has nothing. She's like, I haven't eaten. Can you, help me out? Can you do whatever, spare any change? I'm like, no, I can do something better if you want. I work over here in this mall, and I can go to the food court with you and buy you lunch, and you keep the change. And she was like so grateful for that, and so moved, and so it just brought me joy to see that I was able to do that for someone else. Yeah. And the other story that I want to share with you is that I was on lunch and see this elderly woman who was asking for change outside of a government building. And she's outside a government building. I'm like, oh, okay, well, and both times, and even this time I felt moved. I was inspired to take action just by how I felt. And so I give her, a few bucks, whatever, then I go back to lunch. The following day, I see her outside the same building yelling and talking to cops, saying that someone stole her Social Security check, someone stole her purse. And I'm like, what is happening? What's going on in my mind? And what came to me in that moment is that even if there's a homeless person, or if there's on the street, and he's going to buy alcohol with the money that you give him, it doesn't matter what we think that person is going to do. It's just only our thought process of them, because it gets to a place of us judging them, and that gets in the way of us receiving. Yeah. So when you are inspired to take action to help someone, just let it be that. What they do with it is none of our business, because, if they want to continue to be an alcoholic, or if they want to continue to be a drug user, whatever the case may be, it is them that's on their path to really understanding where they are. And if they feel like that's where they got to be, then let them be. And it took me some time to really get it, to understand that
Now that's a great example. That's a great physical interaction or physical representation of what's happening with the energetic field now. Because becoming a conscious creator is like elementary school or
Yeah,
nursing
exactly.
school. Then you start to understand all the nuances and the subtleties of what our programming has done to us. So it's really more patterns now. You can see, oh, there's the programming. I'm going to neutralize that, but these patterns are still running, right? And yeah, I think that's a big part of it, the judgment, because this is a quantum field now.
Yes,
And
it
so
is.
it's not really just about your words and your actions, it's about your thoughts. And I love what you said because it is also, let's just call it 5D or New Earth, there's no such thing as healing, or suspicion or paranoia or,
No.
even the earth type love. And there's no expectation. And so when you give from your heart with no expectation and then move forward with no thought, no judgment of, let's say, who the recipient is, um, that's better than carrying forward, hey, he's probably going to go get a drink with it or da da da, because that energy of our thoughts is affecting the collective field. And whether we like it or not, it can affect the mirrors that we're interacting with.
Exactly, because I don't have them completely memorized, but we have seven spiritual laws that govern the universe. And, the one that I teach the most is the law of vibration. And when we step into that, because this particular law of vibration cannot be changed, it is as it is. But if we come into alignment with the frequency, if we do what we are meant to do, if we are guided to take this inspired action and be in a place of absolution, of either love or hate. Love being obviously the highest and most subtle of the energies, and hate being the lowest and most dense. Like I teach and tell people, it's always easy to grab for the lowest hanging fruit because it's there. It's
Hmm.
easy. Just like the energy of fear and hate and all the lower vibrating energies. But I want to touch on what you mentioned a few moments ago about, when you're kids, when you're being deliberate creators, when you're being conscious creators as kids, because as kids, we kind of test the waters a little bit to see how much and how far we can go. And, that's the beauty of the being a child, being an infant, because you just have this idea of this omnipotent energy, this omnipotent power that you kind of like, okay, well, if I do this, then this will happen. If I do this, this will happen. And a good example I'm gonna share with you guys is that yesterday, I have a Sholo squid, like a Sholo dog. She's about 6 pounds, and she kind of knows the routine. And so, about a certain time of the day, she knows when dinner is. And so I'm, in the room on my laptop trying to get some work done. She comes on about maybe 5:15. I was like, it's not time yet. It's not time for dinner. Because she wakes up and it's like, it's time to eat. I'm like, it's not time for dinner. So she goes, walks around, does what she does. She comes back around 5:30, sits in my face. It's like, it's time for dinner. And I'm like, you little manipulating. But the thing is, I say that because, even animals, they know they have this energy of creating it and tuning into the energy of what you want. And so that's with anybody until we learn societal behaviors and habits, and then we learn something else, and then we have to unlearn to learn what we already know.
Yeah, yeah, and we're all getting I think we're all moving into. I don't want to say the PhD level, but I think we're getting into the master degree level, given all of the stuff that's occurring in the external.
Oh yeah,
The
definitely.
movie script, and this has been interesting watching the lightworker community
Uh-huh.
over the last 3 or 4 months. And we've talked about it a little bit before, but I think it's healthy in regard to walking the talk and zero pointing everything because everything is us. But for instance, seeing people post credible people, credible energies, we might call high vibrational, and I think everybody's on level. It just doesn't look that way. But and they'll say, if you don't vote for so and so, get off my page. If you vaccinate your kid, get
Yeah,
off my page.
yeah,
And I'm thinking, whoa, man.
yeah. Such polarization in it all.
Yeah, there is, but at the same time, and I think that's one of the things that we're starting to pick up on. You talked about it a second ago, and that is making new choices, living, breathing, eating, drinking, being the embodiment of all of our multidimensional aspects, all our communions and connections, our higher self, God, Goddess, Source, whatever you want to call it. So this is, even with the supposed COVID, and the quarantines and the mask and the election and all
Yeah,
this
so
stuff.
much, so much.
I know at an energetic level, though, it's really facilitating us quite well, like nothing has in a long time, because there has been a lot of expansion, elevation. Doesn't mean there hasn't been problems or uncomfortable moments for us, but at the same time, it looks like the universal energy is supporting us in its perfect paradoxical manner, as it usually does.
Yeah, it does, and that's a really good point. I'm glad that you brought this up because it's really interesting to see this dynamic. And one of the things that kind of blew me away, just the tip of the iceberg was when I believe it was last year when I read an article about I can't I have to say her name, but Doreen Virtue.
What's that?
Article about Doreen Virtue. Have you heard
Oh,
of her?
yeah. Doreen
Yeah,
Virtue. Yeah. Isn't she the
yeah,
one that converted back to
yeah,
Christianity after years of doing, I think, angel messages?
yes.
Okay.
And so that for me sent a signal off. And then when I started people posting about the happenings of 2020 thereafter, and I'm like, and even I posted some things. And people's like, how dare you, or this or that. I'm like, this information is more so about discernment,
Yes.
about you stepping into your truth, about what your intuition and what you're feeling into, not about, blind belief. I'll be the first one to say that, being, African American, being gay, being a man, being this, being that, it really, sets the stage because people expect you to be one way.
Yeah. Yeah. The
And
labels, the
yeah,
labels,
exactly.
the labels and the roles, right?
Yeah, and when you're stuck in those labels and roles, it's then like you're expected to be this or expected to be that or expected to have a certain energy about you. And so then when you have a community such as ours, where there is, we are expected to hold the light and hold the truth and hold this and hold that, then you have people say, well, if you do this, then you're that, or if you do this, then you're that. And so it just created that line. And so then as I see it, it really, speaks to people's level of authenticity
Yeah.
of how they live their truth and
Yeah.
how they teach and how they help, others, their clients or other people who they may be of service to. And for me, being of service is one who steps into the light of truth, no matter, the consequences, because it is what it is. And sometimes it makes me uncomfortable
Yeah.
when I get into those places with my clients because I see things and I feel things and I'm like, this is what's happening, or this is what happened, and this is what it is. And it's like, it's, as some people say, the uncomfortable truth, and you just have to allow it.
And I'm not a practitioner. I'm married to a very incredible practitioner. So I get to observe a lot of things, but it looks to be, and of course I talk to a lot of practitioners on the show, but this transition in 2020 has had a pretty big influence on everything,
Oh yeah,
including energy practitioners' practices. And I've had a lot of them talk about, they got rid of modalities, they modified modalities, everything changed. They went into hibernation. Their clients were changing. I mean, but what you were talking about brought to mind something that happened a couple of days ago. I can't think of it in linear time right now because I just got back, I think, 3 days ago, and I'm still off planet. But there's a couple of things. One, you started off the show talking about how your first book started with messages and comments, and you started to put it all together in a book. And I thought that was kind of cool because I remember, and I've seen other people do this too. You'll be on a post and you'll answer somebody and you'll just have that flow, right?
Yeah.
And you'll just go, oh, copy, and then make your own post off the comment you know what I mean? So we inspire each other, which is kind of cool. But so what happened a couple of days ago, we've been blessed to collaborate with David Icke on November 18th, and it's a big honor for us. It really is for the community. Yeah, thank you. I'm not talking about myself. We're really talking about the soulogy community, this vortex, this portal. But so what happened was we put up a couple of posts about it, and on one of them, a beloved brother that's been on the show, beautiful guy, great story too. He comes from, I think, Iran, and he's a gay, and he took some abuse there, and he had to leave the country. I mean, and he had a phenomenal time with them. Sefer Sapphire is his name. And so he said on the post, most of them were all like, congratulations, oh, I can't wait, I'll put it on my calendar. And he put, I'm a little confused, and I'll just paraphrase it. I've been watching this YouTube channel, and it's such and such name with such and such person hosting it that's been talking about David Icke, who's been putting out like a distorted stream. And I think she was saying it was 4D. But anyway, it was kind of a thing where like, hey, I'm not really clear on this. I don't know. And I don't usually answer any comments anymore because I just don't have time. But I just happened to, because I had a bond with him like we do. And I said, well, I'm going to answer this. And when I told him, I said, look, and this is what brought it up when you said discernment. I said, the order of the day is discernment and sovereignty. And with that comes us gaining our information, gaining our game plan, gaining our vibration from ourselves and not from somebody else. Yes, the information that's put before us is there for us to take our level of discernment to a higher level, to our alignment to a more unified level. And again, our sovereignty to our best and brightest level, But I think this is part of the energy out there right now is we're seeing a lot of judgment, even in the light worker communities, a lot of polarization, but it's all still coming to the middle. It's just we're working the bugs out right now. And I think that's probably a pretty big, I don't want to say challenge, but I think I've seen the influence that 2020's had on energy practitioners. Has it affected you in your practice at all? Have you modified it? Has your personal, your personal interaction with the universe every day in 2020, because I know every day there's a new truth and a new new earth, but has, having to contend with that and still have your practice, I mean, has it obstructed you in any way? Has it helped you?
Well, I would say it helped me. I'll put it to you that way. It helped me because first and foremost, I am one of 15 certified Lemurian light workers on the planet, period. And so the energy work that I was doing before, didn't live up to my personal expectation. And so when I was attuned to this, it really allowed me to step into a whole new energy. And just, I don't know if you guys can see, but these are some of the symbols that I work with when I work with my clients.
Wow.
And so when I tune into this frequency and when I tune into that energy, it's such of a higher multi-dimensional space, and sometimes even, up to the 7th and 9th and 12th planes of existence. When I step into that energy, it's such a high vibrating energy that, it serves me as well as my clients. Right. And so it has really assisted me, has assisted my clients in really breaking down old walls of trauma and PTSD and fear and guilt and shame. It helped to break down all of that. And so when you get into more of the specifics of the light worker community, it only steps to those who aren't ready to really live in the divine truth and to live in the authentic expression of the universe. And so this is where I feel the division comes from, because you have people who are like myself, people like your wife and other people who are ready, who are attuned in to that divine truth, to that divine authenticity, the expression of self, then you have other people, who it's like, oh, I was doing this just because I wanted to learn it. So they might not have been authentic in the way that they approached their practice, which led to this separation, this dividing line of the light work, as well, whether if it's the 144 or not.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean,
are you 144 or are you not? I'm like,
yeah, right. I mean, am I going to be left behind? You hear a lot of people say that. Yeah, this is interesting too, because what you're talking about is real and it's happening. It used to be the past. This is where we started. Like, oh my God, I'm not all these things that I thought I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. So we had to work through that, and then we get unhitched enough to where we can be more present. And then we go, oh, wait a minute. I've got this other program running, which is when I get this house, when I move to Florida, when I have this partner, when I have this job, then everything's going to be nirvana. So we had to let go of that.
Yeah.
Now we're in this space where it's like, these because of our presence now with ourselves, we're going, well, I have to examine my intentions. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like, why am I doing this? Like, and one of the things that I've noticed is, or who am I? Because we keep getting rid of these masks, right? These layers, and we've all had this. We just had a huge week. This past week, a lot of people talked about where there's just a huge ego death frequency, right? That was occurring.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people were going through some uncomfortable moments. But what I'm getting at is like, we're all connecting in our own way, and the universe communicates with each one of us in its own unique way. And everything really at the heart of it is metaphoric, because it's all energy. So it's speaking to us in these metaphors, which are physical, which are non-physical and such. But one of the things is the attachment that we discover, and I've seen a lot of people do this. I've done this with our multidimensional aspects, or this divine essence that we're communicating with, or this skill or ability that I have. Not that they're not real, they're not there, but it's still not us, And so having to let go of some of that stuff, I'm watching people who are holding on tight like this, I communicate with this aspect, and that's all there is to it. Now, they're not saying that, but that's their go-to. But like Morgan always says, why would you want to limit yourself? Because we are everything,
And that's it. That's exactly it. And it's interesting because when I first discovered I was clairaudient, I was like, oh yeah, so it's real easy for me because I could just hear spirit and how they just talk to me. But that's only just the first wave of me really connecting. And so when you have a relationship with spirit, when you have a relationship with these energies, it communicates with you in the best way that you know how, this physical expression, that is easier for you to really understand and move forward in that space. But what's really interesting in all of this is how the beautiful unfolding, because right now, even myself, going through this expression of grief, this expression of loss, even though it may not be expressed in the way that we think in human terms of grief and of loss.
Yeah.
There are certain body aches and certain things that I'm feeling into. I'm like, wait, that's new. Wait, that's different. Why am I have a little tear running down my eye? What's going on? And so it's like all these energies. And so even now, as we move into this, because I believe now, me personally, and maybe some of us are in 4D right now. And one of the symptoms is this level of forgetfulness and
yeah, thank God for that. I thought it was old age.
Yeah, and how we tend to want to release stuff. And so, this whole level of grief and loss and forgetfulness is all an easy way as a human in this body to unlearn everything before we step into the 5D and like relearn everything new. Because a friend of mine who's also a practitioner, actually she's learning about her gift, and she has electrotelekinesis or electrokinesis, where she affects electricity. And I thought that was really cool, really, really amazing. And so she said to me, like, yeah, you have to, Hillis, relearn everything. I'm like, I got to start all over again. So she said, no, it's not starting over. It's just like you going up a level. So you have to retune everything that you already know to do. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's like a staircase. You know, you go up a stair, like your vibration is here, you go up, you go to the next level, you go up, but it's really like this, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like your lower level now is your old higher level. So you still have all the expansion energy with you. But now you wake up, like the universe used to tell me when I was on the streets, you know, tomorrow you did a good job tonight. You know, you hit a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 on the ascension scale, and then you wake up the next morning and the 10 is now a 1. New scale of 10. So, but you still have all the attributes and all the new skills and abilities, but now there's more to learn. I mean, you know, I don't know, these old guys, Socrates, Michelangelo, 87 years old, I'm still learning. Socrates, the more I know, the less I know. I mean, to me, one of the big aspects of elevating and expanding and growing up, as Morgan says, you know, is openness, being open to any and everything. That's another thing that's interesting as I'm watching this, and I'm really looking forward to talking to David Icke about this stuff, is, you know, what are these bandwagons we're jumping on? What are these savior-based programming vehicles that are being presented to us, whether it be a political affiliation or a movement or a religion or ethnicity or a sexual preference or our genders? What all of these have to go. Oneness is oneness. You know, there is an androgynous frequency that's taking hold in many ways with same-sex couples, with opposite-sex couples, with individuals. Okay, we saw this firsthand in Sedona. We were told, Morgan pulled it down in our nightly communion, when you get to Sedona, you're going to see these couples carrying the same energy as you. But you're also going to see these androgynous beings that are carrying the same frequency as the couples. And sure enough, for 3 weeks while we were there, this is what happened. And it wasn't so much about the physical interactions, you know, and it was interesting that part because you could see the influence of the meetings on the individuals, you know, on the human part of it. But what was most important was that overall we were in a physical embodiment with others, like you were talking about earlier, where 2 or more gather, where this androgynous frequency, much broader than the human definition, is taking hold. And to me, it was a great sign because it's happening in individuals, it's happening in couples, and it won't be long if it's not already happening in organizations or in groups where there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10. And I think it's gaining steam like someone just turned on a fire hydrant.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it is the part of the changing and shifting energy because what's being recalled to my mind is that, you know, years ago when I was in the midst of writing a play and I was studying one of the African gods, I can't think of their name right now, but there was a particular god that could change their sex at will.
Yeah.
And I thought this was very interesting. And I'm like, if a god could do this, then of course, you know, you at some point will be able to have the embodiment because, you know, we're both masculine and feminine energy. It's just, you know, one is more dominant than the other. But what I find fascinating, especially in the last 3 years, is how the transgendered is now the physical embodiment of this energy. Yeah. And how they can say, well, you know what? I'm not this. I want to be this now. Yeah. And this is what I choose. And so it's that the physical manifestation or the physical morphestation to really allow for the new mastery of the planet to really shift into whatever it is that you wish to see, be, do, and just express. And I found it most not just fascinating, but it's very, as Esther Hicks or Abraham would say, it's very delicious
Yeah, yeah,
to see this energy move.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting too, because like in cases of, I have quite a few transgender friends over the years since I came online in 2012, 2013. And it's interesting because it can, this is what I'm talking about, the broader definition of the androgyny frequency. Okay. Scarlett Ireland, my friend, she says androgyny is a certain kind of balance. Yeah. It's
Yes.
something bigger. And I think what we're seeing, like with all of us, is we're attempting to create into the field our understanding from our own main line from the infinite intelligence, what that looks like in the physical experience. And so you get all kinds of things. You get, all kinds of attempts to personify this. And really, and I've been saying this not because it's me, but because I gave it to me for 9 years, we're writing a new good book. We're writing a new template. We're writing a new blueprint. This is something that's going to be set into the universal field, and then another cycle will start, and this will be like the new Akashic or the Akashic plus our experiential human existences, and here we go. A plus B equals C, and now the next cycle comes and C is A, and the experience will be B, and there'll be a new C. So, I mean, it's interesting to watch all this stuff, but at the end of the day, I like what you said at the beginning of the show where you're saying, hey, about discernment and judgment. Of course, that has to be applied to self first, but also equally to those mirrors that are presented to us each and every day. Oneness is oneness. There are no exceptions. And you can either let go or be dragged, because this is a collective ascension, a universal ascension, and we can either ride the wave and, in faith, knowing that we're eternal and knowing that we're going to have a hang 10, big kahuna wave come and we're going to be able to ride it, or we can get smashed. But either way, we're going to end up on the beach and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you know what? I just want to expand on that a little bit more, because I was having a conversation yesterday with an amazing woman who I'm going to interview on my podcast soon. And she expressed to me she, knew at some point that she dissolved her DNA. And this because she said, well, because she stepped into this higher level of consciousness. And so I was like, how is that even possible? She said, well, Hillis, think about it. She's like, we were seeded by other beings. We have Palladian DNA, we have Arcturian DNA, we have Syrian DNA, we have all these, other strands of DNA.
Anunnaki. Everybody knows with reptilian too, so it's everything, right?
Yeah. And so you have all these other strands, and so you really don't know what it means to be human, to have this human expression. So what I feel that is happening on the planet is that we are learning, one, what it means to be a true human and not, facets of other species. And two, that we are really understanding how to really manipulate the biological energy of the body to be multiple expressions whenever we desire. You have, not only transgender, but you also have people with more than one sexual organ.
That's true.
So you have all of this energy that's being, pumped into the atmosphere, being pumped into the collective consciousness and this energy. So it really allows for very dynamic experiences. And so then, go back to what we talked about before, the judgment of those really limits the expansion. So once we release the judgment, the expansion is go boom.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's right. I've had a practice, and again, I'm married to a very astute high priestess oracle energetic force that keeps me on my toes. And but through that, tutelage, continuing tutelage, probably a year, maybe a year to a year and a half ago, I started to, as a daily practice, bring up people, contemporaries, and such, that gave me that feeling, you know? So every day I would go to their page or go in third eye and go down the list and sit across from them and work it to the best of my ability on that moment, on that day, and take it to the highest unification I could until eventually there's no charge. To me, that's been one of the best formulas for me to, elevate, has been to take the things that I feel I'm most not, or that I'm most separate from, whether my ego's going, yeah, but they're assholes, or whatever the case is, to really do that. And it's been a huge benefit to me. And it's taken me a lot longer than it probably take most people. And I'm still working on it from time to time, but yeah, I think that's the thing. Like we were saying earlier, being open is essential. Like we don't know, you talked about the low hanging fruit earlier, like the low vibration realm or frequency being low hanging and the higher one being obviously up higher in the tree. Well, we may not like the low vibration, or we may be uncomfortable, or we may know that there's something beyond it, but we're comfortable in it because we know it. So how do you get to that higher level? By accepting more of the universe. And that includes your foes and your enemies and your in-laws and whatever antagonists you've designed prior to coming down here, in agreement with them, soul contracts and such. But to me, that's an accelerator that really just leaves you no choice, because there is no in between.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really beautiful to really, step into that unknown, because, as I teach about it, the unknown makes us uncomfortable because we don't know. There's not enough information to step into that. So, I'll use myself as an example, as I started to really tune into my gifts and my abilities. It's like, okay, what am I feeling? What is this? What's happening? And so it's like all these questions. And so it's like, I in turn was holding myself back because I didn't know what to expect or didn't know what to be doing with all of this. And so when I fully accepted my gifts and abilities, that's when everything just really started to take off. Yeah. And one night, not too long ago, when I was, just playing around, with energy, I was sitting in front of my altar, had, my candle lit as usual. I believe it might have been a full moon meditation I was doing. And as I was drawing symbols with my hands and with my finger, the glass of the candle broke, and this was maybe about almost an inch thick of glass, and it split right down the middle. And I'm like, whoa.
Trippy, man. I know that happened to me, like, because you might remember. So I went homeless by my own choice, and the first leg of it was a 7-month spirit walk, and I was all over the place, massive traumas and just hole in the heart, and but I was staying at a friend's house, and I was kind of like not ignoring, but maybe not believing all the divine episodes I was having. Was that third eye? Was that my imagination? Did I really see that? Did that Nigerian cab driver who can't speak English really start talking to me in English all of a sudden? And what the hell was that about? So I went for a walk because I had a big decision to make, and I was staying at a friend's house. I rented a room for a week, and I had made dinner, and there was a glass of warm tea, a really thick tumbler. And so by the time I got back, it was warm, and it was just sitting on the nightstand. And I sat down, I put my hands together, I said, "Can I trust this path?" And that glass exploded, right? Like somebody blew it up with a shotgun. Tea and glass went all over me. And that's when I was like, okay, there is something else going on here. And I could hear like the guides, particularly like Archangel Michael, like just laughing on them. It's about time you woke up. But these types of things that occurred to you on this meditation, and even those things back then, I mean, it's really the same thing. But what's happening now, these synchronicities and these validations are becoming more and more common, way beyond 1111s and 5555s, way beyond chance meetings. They're becoming like a part of our daily life. I mean, we just went on this trip to Sedona and back, and especially the trip back, because we got 5 hours out of Sedona. A lady says, "Hey, I want to gift you this bus." So we drove 5 hours to New Mexico, and then so it was like 25 hours of driving. And Morgan was driving on the right-hand side of the road, which is the wrong side of the road to her. She hadn't driven a lot in the States, and certainly not 1,200 miles. But my point is there were these synchronicities all along the way. You know, like from the get-go, from the day we got there, our car blew up in Sedona. The people that helped us were from Apache Junction, New Mexico. And then as we're leaving, this lady from Apache Junction, New Mexico, which isn't a big place,
Right.
says, "Hey, I'm 66. I had a stroke. I was in the hospital 4 months. I've been watching you guys for 3 weeks. Spirit told me to give you this bus." And but the synchronicities, right? And I'm talking hawks and other animals. I mean, it just, all kinds of, and I think that's, I guess what I'm trying to say is part of engaging and expanding this and getting the highest potential out of this ascension cycle is to start to basically navigate by these synchronicities, respect and honor them, and see them for what they are. You're not going to make a bad choice if you deny it, but you certainly can activate not just yourself but others by following those omens and signs.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's just a part of our existence when we are tuned in and connected to this energy, because how else is spirit going to communicate with us other than manipulating the physical realm, the energy of that physical realm, to get our attention? It's like, okay, I hear you, but how am I going to get your attention? Am I going to mess with the clock? Or am I going to mess with your cell? Am I going to blow up your car? Am I going to, make the gas explode? What am I going to do to help get your attention? And so it's just all these little things that we know is meant for us. Just like, when I saw the medicine bag on the street, certain things are meant for you. And so when it shows up, you can either accept it or deny it. And if you deny it, it's like, okay, well, what else can we do to get this person's attention? What can we do to be more obvious about it? And so it just really comes down to trusting your intuition, to trusting what you know, trusting what you feel.
Yeah.
And that's really the basis of it all.
And the signs are like becoming more magnified. And at the same time, we're having more distortion being presented. It's almost like the universe is going, "Hey, I'm going to make this as silly and cartoonish as I can until you wake up," which is really what's happened to all of us on the individual level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as within, without. Like, what happens? The universe will come and nudge you, and then it'll tap on you, and then it'll kind of slap you, and then it'll just knock you on your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Let a glass explode next to you or whatever. But I don't want to run out of time. I want to make sure that we cover a couple of things. One is you have a podcast. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Where is the podcast? Is it on your Facebook page, YouTube, whatever? And what's the nature of it? How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it since about February, March this year.
Cool.
So the name of it is called Light Insight. And it's where I have conversation with authors, spiritual people, everyone else, to dive into the minds, like to get to the heart of certain matters.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcast can be found on my website, which is HillisPugh.com. That's HILLISPUGH.com, under the speaker section. So all of that stuff can be found there.
All right. Far out. Very cool. And what about in terms of your practitionership? What do you do, just so people know, because people usually get a few messages, to say the least, off of this show. But yeah, what do you offer, and how do they get in touch with you? Same place?
Same place. So I offer right now my psychic mediumship and my Lemurian light energy work, which I am one of 15 people certified to do this work. And I work with groups, I work with individuals and or groups, and they can get in touch with me either Facebook, any form of social media, or my website again, which is HillisPugh.com.
Right on. Okay, cool. And is there anything that you want to do before we go? Like prayer? I heard you're a great dancer. Singer, light language, blessing, or just some commentary or something that you want to say or get off your chest?
When it comes to moments like these, to deep dive or go high, so to speak, into what is being asked to be expressed in this moment. And there's always these moments where I can, do a meditation, or I can do whatever is on my soul. Or right now is on my soul to express to those who are watching and listening is to really step into your truth, to allow your intuition to guide you during these times, because this is the only way where you will know what is for you, regardless of what anyone else says, whether it's your peers, family, friends. Don't allow them to sway you one way or the other, because the universe, God, source, energy, creator, you are the master. You are the one who's in control of all of this. And so when you allow the energy of the divine truth, your intuition, to touch you in the way that you ask for it to be touched, in the way that you ask for it to come to you, to allow this energy to recognize what it is, then you know what you are meant to do. You then know your purpose. You then know and understand the fullness, the beingness of your soul.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
Yeah, right on, man. The only savior is the savior we are to ourselves. I am soul. But no, I love that. And I think this is real important too, what you said, because, and it's come up a few times in the last couple of weeks, and that is to ask, right? I mean, we've had a problem, with asking, because of our journeys and conditioning, but the old Bible text, asking, it will be given, knock and the door will be opened. I think every one of us can look back in our pre-awakening, even in our childhood, and even in these times when we had the ability to kind of infuse our emotions into our maybe pleading, not pleading in the sense of begging, but plead, this is what I want, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is it's worked.
Yeah.
When we were kids, when we were certain times in our lives, we asked, it would come. Sometimes it would come in a way that we didn't think it would come.
It would come because we surrendered to it. And that's the key. Right. We have to allow ourselves to surrender.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And that's really, I think, right up there with being open. The surrender thing is, you can't do it. You can't, you're fighting yourself, it's, the only thing standing in our way is us. So,
yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I'm going to have to check out your podcast, and love to collaborate with you again sometime,
most definitely.
Either way, your show, my show, whatever. And always here to help. And thank you again for being such a consistent force in the Lightworker community. You carry yourself in a way that's very distinguished, very noble. You're not a rah-rah guy like I can get. You're just, and I respect that, because there's a lot of energy that can encode, that can be picked up from that type of energy, represented in one of our brothers or sisters, that humility, which only comes from the tough days, right? The hard, the humiliation, the personal humiliation with yourself, right? And then comes the humility. But yeah, I wish you the best. Endless gratitude, love, respect, reverence, honor, brother, and all blessings to you and yours.
You as well. Thank you so much, Todd.
All right, man. Peace out.
Peace out.
See you, everybody. See y'all later.